Our goal, our jobs as professionals is to erase the uncertainty and provide lots of certainty, right? Even if we aren't certain, we have to provide systems that give them certainty. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I have Ryan King on from King Landscape Design today, and we're going to discuss something that I know that really beat me up a lot when I first started in the industry, and even in the middle times, right? It was about this idea of why was I seeing so many other guys out there getting those big, juicy jobs, and I was struggling to get them. Like I was struggling to get projects that were over $50,000. And I kept banging my head against the wall thinking like, what do they have that I didn't? I thought in the beginning it was the fact that maybe they had a degree in landscape architecture and I didn't, so they got the good ones. Or maybe it's because they just happen to know people more than I did or whatever it was. And you know what I found out over the time was that was all bullshit. The reality was that I wasn't staying in my lane. I was trying to do everything myself. So I wanted to bring Ryan here on to talk about how integrating somebody else into your team, especially for the design side. Because if you're an amazing builder, if you love building really cool stuff, but you don't love the design part, why are you doing it? Like, why? Why are you not delegating that to somebody in your team or outsourcing it to someone like Ryan in order to get that piece nailed down? Imagine if you could bring a design back to Mrs. Jones that just knocked her socks off and you didn't have to put any time into it. Imagine that. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Josh. Thanks for having me. This is a great opportunity.
No, I love talking to you, brother. Your heart's in the right place, and I love what you're doing for the industry, and I love that you're, that you're helping so many. So, I mean, really, at the end of the day, I'd love to get deeper into why you think most guys are struggling with trying to get those bigger jobs, and you see it from a different angle, and I'd love to see and get your perspective on that.
Yeah, totally. And just like you're saying, the biggest thing that I found over the years is just outsourcing the things that either you might not be the best at or that you're not passionate about. Because you could spin your wheels around and around. Say you were a design build contractor and your passion was really just getting out there, getting dirty, putting the shovel in the ground and building those projects. But you're just like, hey, I'm really dragging on these designs, but you want to offer the designs on yourself. So the biggest thing is just taking advantage of the community around you and reaching out to other people who can help you excel in those areas that you might not be that proficient at. So for example, on a design perspective, say you're a designer and maybe you struggle with landscaping and you're not really passionate about plants. You can always reach out to, say, horticulturists or people local to that area who know those native plants. And they could put together an incredible plant palette for you, and you could put it together in your design. And then it's just going to make you both work that much better. But most importantly, give a homeowner an incredible experience on the product you're offering.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right with that. And I know that in the beginning, though, for me at least, and I was designing and doing all that in-house, it was, oh man, I always had this thought in my head, like nobody's going to do it like I do. Like even when I brought designer into the team and started to grow that, that relationship. And I was like, but how do you transfer the way I solve problems into that person? Like how do you do that? And I was so self-focused at that time, thinking that I was so important and I was the only one, that it stopped me for years from making that decision and that leap and and gave me the power to finally delegate that responsibility. And once I realized it really isn't about me, and the fact that others are even better at this than I was. Oh my goodness, that took a little bit of humbling, right? I had a big old slice of humble pie there. So
exactly.
How do you find when contractors come to you to start design for them, and they finally got to the part where like, I just can't anymore? Because usually it's something big, right? You get to a point where you have either all these projects and you can't get to them all, and then all of a sudden you start seeing projects popping out, and they're like, sorry, Josh, we're not waiting any longer. We got to go with somebody else. And you start feeling that pain. You're like, I got to do something. And then all of a sudden you make that big shift. Imagine if it didn't have to be that way. Imagine if it could be done purposefully and in a way that like, hey, I'm logically thinking this out. I know that's not my strong suit, I like it, but it's not my strong suit.
Right.
I need to get somebody in that seat that can actually do it for me. So when do you see
Yeah.
contractors like getting to that point before they're like, all right, just do something here. Like, help me out. Like, how do they come to you
Yeah.
usually?
Right. Yeah. And so the number one thing I always hear from contractors when they reach out is just that they can't keep up with the amount of design work that they have on their plate. And either homeowners are starting to tell them, hey, you're taking too long, we're gonna go talk to another contractor, or maybe they just simply don't have time to get around to it at all. So the contractors that I really work with are usually people who are building during the day, they were trying to design at night, or they were trying to find a local designer to hire in-house to bring onto their team. But the biggest thing I hear is just the turnaround time for homeowners. So as you know, when a homeowner is excited about any project, not even in the landscaping industry, they usually want it instantly. So if they can find a way to entertain that homeowner, even if you're booking projects 3 to 4 or 5 months out, we can entertain that homeowner with 3D design, renderings, video fly-throughs, things of that nature to really keep them excited about that project throughout that whole phase. So the biggest point, regardless of any position you're in, is just the homeowner standards of, are you keeping them waiting and are you keeping them excited about that project in order to carry on through? Because the more excited that homeowner is, the more happier they're going to be with your company and the more willing they're going to be to just expand on their projects.
Man, you hit on something that is critical. I hope the listeners are listening close here. If you get a client and they're all excited and you're going to tell them, hey, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to do a design, because you're busy. That's just what it is. What you got to realize is not just the fact that that's true for you, but the fact that Mrs. Jones now has to wait all that time, which you're giving her time to do other things, A, with the money and B, with her mind. So the goal is always speed to lead. How fast can you go from, hi, Mrs. Jones, to here's your design, to, hey, let's get started with the construction, right? The speed is important right there. So if you leave her go, and I used to do this too. I can't even tell people that are doing it wrong because I used to do this where I'd be like, yeah, Mrs. Jones, I'll be back to you in 4 to 6 weeks. Well, you know what? I wouldn't touch base with that person the entire time because I'm working on the design. I got other designs to get out, all that kind of stuff. And then all around, usually around week 4, 4.5, I start getting emails and texts like, hey, when's that design coming out? Like she has to, or he has to reach out to us. And that it already takes guts to do that. Like they have to all right, well, let's kick the bear. Let's see if he's still doing our stuff or whether he ran away with our money. Like we don't know. Customers don't know. So you put them in a state of uncertainty. And we never want to put our clients in a state of uncertainty. Our goal, our jobs as professionals is to erase the uncertainty and provide lots of certainty, right? Even if we aren't certain, we have to provide systems to give them certainty. So if you let them just hang for the longest time and say nothing and be like, yeah, I'll get back to you. I got like 2 weeks and I'm going to get that out. All right, that's that. And then nothing happens again in the 2 weeks. And you finally land on the day, April 1st, it's due, and you drop it in the evening in their mailbox if you're on time. And then they're already fed up with you, even though you did exactly what you said you were going to do. But to your point, even if you aren't hiring somebody like Ryan, but you are doing your own design work, if you drip information to them, either by saying, guys, look, you're next up, we're working on you next week. It's going to take me about a week. Bear with me, like keeping them in the conversation. And if you want to level up one level, as you mentioned earlier, start dripping like little videos or little snapshots of the design as you're going. Man, you talk about building up. Oh, they love it. They start foaming at the mouth for that stuff.
Yeah.
And you're building this trust and this like, oh my goodness, he cares. She cares. This is going to be amazing. Like, I like what I'm seeing, but I haven't seen the whole thing. It's almost like a trailer to a movie, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. A sneak peek. So you guys out there listening, if you're not doing that yet, it doesn't take a whole lot to do that. And you can delegate that to somebody in your team, but just to be dripping on Mrs. Jones that you can give her little stuff as you're going along and trying to keep that as fast as possible back to her will keep her excited and you're building momentum as opposed to just dropping this into a 4 to 6 month silent abyss that her mind's going all over the place and thinking like, well, did they take me for my money? Am I even going to like it? My friends say that I don't need a design. The other guy's going to do it for free. And this guy, like all of this brain trash happens. They're human.
Yeah.
But if you can alleviate all of that by dripping them as you go in this process. So I love that you brought that up because it is so true.
Yeah, and I mean those sneak peeks are such a good way just to interact with the homeowner too. Because I mean, once you're deep into a design, I mean, if you're like me, my mind is just so focused on that project, I kind of forget about keeping communication with the homeowners. So I'm like halfway through the project, I'm like, hey, let's send them a quick black and white 3D image of where the design's at so far. It just has a little sneak peek, and the reactions they send back to you, they just are absolutely loving it. And you might be a week into it and they're just patiently waiting for the whole design. But even if you send
Yeah.
them that sneak peek, it's just one great way to just really kind of win
It's
them
true.
over.
And you have to think of two perspectives here, listeners, two perspectives. Yours as the designer, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited about this. I'm going to just hold it to the end and let them see everything at once. Like inside, you're just boiling with excitement. And the homeowner is not part of that excitement circle, if you will. For them, it's, I haven't heard from him or her in a long, long time. And their mind starts going to the negative. So if you can keep pulling them along and building that momentum, like we're talking about, man, when you put that presentation together and you sit down with them, yeah, it's incredible to see the difference between, I don't know if he's going to show up and do anything, and I can't wait to see the final thing because I've been dripped all this information and these sneak peeks as you're driving me crazy. Yeah,
Exactly. And it's such a cool reaction too, because I mean, it's going to lead to so much more, because they're going to tell their friends about it. They'll tell their family about it, especially when the project's done and they're sitting around the patio. They'll be showing them those designs or images that you sent them and be like, look how incredible this all turned out.
Plus they're showing their family. They're starting to look outside. It's they're boiling into it. We always talk about the design part of this conversation with your customers. The design part is the fantastical, it's the fantasy. We have to be careful. We have to have a framework, an idea of what budget looks like. We do that through the sales process. We have a framework. We've got some guardrails up. We know about where we need to be. But in the beginning, we want to have them understand and see this design, if you will, in a bit of a bubble. And bear with me here, this fantastical bubble of what could be, without saying bubble equals X amount of $1,000 to do this. And all of a sudden, like, I love it, but don't want to spend that much money. Like, they have to live in that fantastical for a little while in the design process with rough ranges, things like that they can be like, oh, if I could do something like that. But they have to live in that the fantasy land. And then eventually, obviously, reality has to set in. But we do that after they start getting really, really tied into one of the designs. And then you get in toward the end, you're like, okay, well, this goes from idea fantasy to reality. But there's a transition through that, not just fantasy reality, boom. It's kind of like you kick them right in the guts and say, hey, look at a pretty picture, slam in the face with a right hook. You know, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're giving them some time to live in the fantasy so that they can just be creative in their mind, because there's two different sides of the brain. Let them live in that creative side and then eventually come to the practical side to say yes to the project. So take your time is my bigger point, right? Listeners, don't try to rush that and say, here's the design, here's the price, goodbye, I got to go to the next guy. See less people and go deeper with them. That is the key to all of this. So what have you found as far as that kind of thinking with how you've been doing your work over the years?
So the biggest thing that I try to focus on, like you're saying now, is creating that experience for that homeowner. Because that's literally what any sort of business boils down to, is how good of an experience did that person have with your company. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. So that's that you're basically, when you're first starting out in the design part, you're kind of telling a story all the way up until what you're proposing to them to put into their backyard. So that's the way I look at it, is when I'm working with these homeowners, they don't really know much about the landscape industry or the possibilities of what they could do in their backyard. So you're starting out by educating them on all these different possibilities, and then you're going to transform that into different designs and 3D drawings to really just give that homeowner this higher quality experience than maybe someone down the street would do. So finding ways which you can transform it in any way, making videos, still shots, interactive things online for homeowners to do, like if it's a design style quiz that they can take on your website to really get a feel for rustic, contemporary. But again, you really you want to have fun with it. It's nothing strict or strategic. You're just trying to have fun with that homeowner, get them to interact with your product, and just giving them a great experience.
I love that, and it's so true. And it's not just a means to an end. I know in the beginning, I was like, I just need to get this design out so I can build this project. I just wanted to build a project. And then I realized, wait a minute here. There's something to be said about taking your time in the design to make sure it's just right. Cross all your I's, dot all your, the other way around, right? Cross all your T's, dot all your I's, or however you want to do it. But the point is to take your time to make sure that this part is not raced through. This part has to be worked through. This is all part of the experience. And, people, you gotta think about it. People do outdoor living spaces, homeowners, maybe once or twice in a lifetime like this. So they want to savor it a little bit. They want to think through it. They want to make the right decisions. They don't want just a quick get in, get out kind of design. They really do want to chew on it and make sure they know that it's the right path forward. So, spending your time in the
Right.
design side is going to be very, very important.
Yeah, and that all circles back around to the beginning of this conversation too, is like you're saying, you don't want to rush through this. So if you can find a way to outsource those things that you aren't particularly fantastic at, that's going to give you that much more time to focus on Mrs. Jones's backyard while someone else is maybe working on a structure design for you or a water feature design for you, something that you don't
Yep,
really
yep.
excel at. So if you feel like you're in a bind with any sort of area, even if you're on the installation aspect of it and you're really having a hard time installing plants or putting up walls, find somebody who's really good at it and work alongside of them or outsource
No,
them.
100%. And another thing we kind of started talking about, I'd love to go a little deeper with this and even get your opinion on this. When it comes to delegation, man, it's something that I struggled with in the beginning. Holy moly, man. I had that self-focus of I'm the only one that can do this. If I hand it off, someone's going to mess it up. It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me time. It's just easier if I do it. And the problem was you could only get to a certain level, let's just call it roughly $1 million in revenue, before you can't do everything anymore. If you get that far, usually it's $500,000 to $1 million, somewhere in there, you start to realize you got to start delegating. You need a team to get there. And there's this exercise that one of my coaches actually just said on me that I think it's such a great way to figure out what you should delegate and what you should do. Because I was so used to doing everything that I didn't really know how to get rid of some of the stuff. And like they all looked equal to me. Some things brought me more joy, some things brought me more pain, but it just all got done, right? It's just what it is. So it's this chart where you basically take a piece of printer paper, and you just make quadrants out of it. So you basically just put a plus sign, right? So the upper left-hand corner is love it and great at it. So I love doing this and I'm great at it, man. I could do this all day long. Even if nobody paid me, I could do this. That's the first box. Second is going to be like it and good at it. So, okay, I like doing it. I'm kind of good at it. That works. That's another box. Lower left is going to be don't like it, but I'm good at it. Like those things you just got to do. Like I don't like vacuuming, but I'm pretty good at it, right? So that's the thing. And then also the very bottom right corner of the quadrant would be don't like it and not good at it. So if you just take the chart and you put that out on a piece of paper, again, love it, great at it, like it, good at it, don't like it, but good at it, and don't like it and not good at it. You do that. And you start writing down over a week or two of all the responsibilities you have and find the buckets they fit in. All of a sudden, now you've got a plan. This is the plan. And what your goal would be the upper left, the love it and great at it, should really be your only responsibilities. Right? And every other box should be delegated. Now, maybe that's not immediately, but over time, it should be delegated to somebody else whose box that says love it and great at it is your box that says don't like it and not good at it. Because there are those people out there, right? There's people that love counting beans, I call them, like the accountants and the bookkeepers. Like they love bean counting. I hate bean counting. And I'm not good at it either, right? So I know how to start the conversation, how to do the design, how to work with the customers. Everything else is, I just say, here are the beans, you count them, right? But once we know where we stand and we can hand our 3 quadrants off that don't serve us to people who it does serve. Imagine if every one of those boxes were glowing bright green because everyone was going wide open at them and you weren't like, crap, there's always that one box that don't like and not good at that you just never get to, right? You just never get to that one, but that's the one often that moves the needle the furthest. The stuff you procrastinate against. But once you have it clear and laid out in this chart, the next thing you're like, okay, cool. Now I need to hire somebody that does this, this, and this. Perfect. And I know what I want to do. And the next thing you know, you're like, life is simple. It really can be that simple.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, in the benefits of it too, not just from a day-to-day perspective, is you're going to network with so many people across your specific industry. That's going to lead to even more opportunities because maybe they're doing something they don't like to do that you're really good at, or maybe they have a homeowner who's stuck on something, and then you end up getting that referral. So not only from a day-to-day perspective where you're just going to wake up and enjoy doing what you're doing more, you're going to meet so many more people and build so many more connections throughout the community, and who knows what it could lead to.
When you get people on your team that they know their lane, you know your lane, and you're all driving down the highway at 75 mile an hour, baby, and it's beautiful. It's like you're
Yeah,
not
exactly.
pulling this big trailer with flat tires because you're trying to do everything, right? Because that's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yep.
extra work. But when everyone's just cruising along,
Yeah.
and it just hums along so beautifully, and when delegation is one of those things that it's mindset. It's 6 inches of real estate between your ears because it's very possible. You see people doing it all the time. It's just a matter of systems and processes is really what starts to make that more possible, so that you can have consistent outcomes that way. That's what we're going to
Yeah.
talk a lot about at
Yep.
OLM is SOPs, and you're going to talk a lot about that in the design category. You know what I mean? About how to be able
Right.
to do this. Where's the handoff? How does this work? What are we going to do together? Like, what do I need from you? Like all these kinds of things. So that this part, if you're listening out there and you're like, look, I love building stuff, but I don't necessarily love the design part. Well, either hire somebody, get them in the office, or outsource that. Because when you stay in your lane, strongly in your lane, everything is more enjoyable.
Right. And it's so simple too to take that first step, whether you were reaching out to people on social media or going to events like OLM or any other educational event. I mean, there's so many ways to reach out to people and just say, hey, this is something I struggle in. Is there anyone that you would recommend who could help me fulfill these needs and just create a better product at the end of the day? It's really just taking that first step, seeing who you can meet, and then that could just snowball into so many opportunities, which is obviously fun to see
And you know what
happen.
the funny part is? When I first started thinking like this, it's great. But the first thing that come into mind is, yeah, I can't afford that. Like, I can't afford to hire people to delegate things to. I can barely pay my bills right now. Like, how is that going to work? How am I going to possibly
Exactly.
hire a secretary? How am I possibly going to hire a director of operations or a project manager or design? Like, how is that even possible? Like, I couldn't see past what was directly in front of me, the doubt and the grayness, if you will. And what I found is when I finally broke through that threshold and said, no, it's time to do that. I will never be able to grow more than where I'm at right
Mhm.
now if I don't start building a team. And I was blessed with amazing
Exactly.
people to come on board. And once you have them on board, you're like, I would never go back. It's not because your life is easier. It's because you're more in your lane. Like for me, I know personally that after a lot of deep work that I'm a visionary, right? I see things that no one else sees. But what I really suck at is implementation. Right. I'm captain of ship.
Yeah.
I can see the distance. I can see the icebergs. I can see the weather coming and all that, but I need everyone else in the ship doing stuff to make sure the ship's still moving ahead. If it's all on my responsibility, all on my shoulders, I then am not very good at visualizing because I'm so focused in the day to day and the stuff that I really don't want to do. So it actually hurts the team when people aren't in the right roles, when they're not in their clear God-given roles, right? And or gifts. So it's so important to take the time and to learn that about yourself. And not everybody's a visionary. Not everybody's an implementer. Not everybody's a technician or a manager. Like you find whatever you are and live it and own that. Not one is better.
Right.
All are equal, but
Exactly.
find what you are. Don't try to be a visionary if that doesn't work for you, or don't try to be an implementer if you can't get shit done. Right? It's like certain people are wired like that. And that's the beautiful part about assembling a team with all those pieces.
Yeah, and it might seem overwhelming too at first, but like you're saying, create that quadrant on that piece of paper and just pick one. Focus on that one, see who you can find to delegate that responsibility to. And then once you're completely happy with that person, start on to the next topic. You don't want to delegate 3 or 4 different things right off the bat, because then you're trying to create systems for each of those delegations, which that could snowball the wrong way. So what I always recommend is just finding the one thing that you want to delegate first, focus on that person, develop a system, see what goes well in that system, and then find that next thing that you're trying to delegate off to the next person.
That's exactly right. And if you try to take them all on at once, it's like putting 50 plates in the air on sticks and you're trying to keep them all balanced. You know what I mean? If you say, look, I'm going to pick the one thing that's going to make the biggest impact right now. Maybe it is bookkeeping, let's just say hypothetically, right? I'm doing all the books and reconciliations and payroll and all that stuff. And yeah, it only takes me an hour a month, hour a week, whatever. Yeah, but you don't realize what you have to think deeper about, and what I didn't realize is how much bandwidth in your brain it takes. Even though physically the act doesn't take that long to do, it's the bandwidth of keeping everything in order so you can spend that hour to get it done. That could be an immense amount of bandwidth. Now you take that bandwidth away, you hand that responsibility off, you not just get your time back, but you get your sanity back too.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And then you'll see your day-to-day improve a tremendous amount by getting that sanity back. Because I mean, if you wake up in the morning and you have a long list of things to do that you really don't want to do, you're just going to lose that much motivation and that much momentum. And when you're speaking to those homeowners, they're going to feel that energy coming across. If you wake up and you're excited about the stuff that's on your plate and you're meeting with
Yep.
homeowners that day, they're going to be able to tell. So there's just so many benefits to finding a way to delegate the things that you aren't perfect at to make your day to day and make your homeowners day to day that
And
much
you hit
better.
on something that's really important for all the listeners out there is customers can feel you. You can act a certain way, big smiles, but they can feel if something's off. We all have it. It's part of our human condition. We need to have that. Now, sometimes you can't put your finger on what's off, but you know something's just not right. And if you're not lining up with like your physiology is really positive and bouncy and happy and focused, but your face isn't, like you're worried about something and they can read it all over you, like you're all jacked on caffeine, but your face is like Eeyore, like all down. It's like the two don't they don't work together. They don't correlate. So
Right.
logically and even emotionally, they can pick that up. And you can have big smiles, but if there's something that's weighing on your shoulders, like somebody just quit or you just lost this job or this client's complaining about something you can't control, and that's weighing on you, they can sense that.
Right.
Huge.
Yeah, they'll be able to feel that energy, and they just if the homeowner doesn't get a good gut feeling off of something, then that could also obviously lead down a road too that you don't want to go down. So I mean, it just goes back to just how much good energy you're putting off while you're communicating with your customers and your homeowners, which is going to be reciprocated back on you.
But so much of that is knowing that you're going into that meeting square on your road, on your lane, right? And not having the responsibilities of other things that really you don't want to be doing, because that's going to come through. They can see that stuff. You can only put that away for a little while. That weight of all those things become very evident. And that's why you're not getting projects, right? Because they can sense something's just not right. So again, if you're square in your lane, you're square within the gifts that God's given you, and you are just humming on all cylinders, they can't help but say yes to you, because like this guy or this girl is just on fire about this. Like they're so passionate about this. It's amazing. I can't wait to work with this person. And that's what I love about you. You're always fired up and happy. Like you're in your lane. It's clear.
Oh yeah.
Right.
100%.
So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff, bro. So yeah. So I'd like to ask you just one question. And when did you know that landscape design was your calling? Like, when did you know that was the thing for you? You had a lot of choices in life. When did it happen?
Yeah. I mean, so it's funny how it came about, and it's kind of a long story, but when I was a freshman in college, I didn't really know kind of what path I wanted to head down, and I had to think 4 different majors between my first day of freshman year and my first semester of sophomore year. I was just bouncing all over the place. So I was like, you know what, let's study abroad. I was like, I'm gonna find something, and I was set up to study in Australia. I had everything all laid out. I was just picking my classes. So when I was picking my classes, I was reading a lot about landscape architecture. And I was like, man, this seems so cool. Like all the possibilities you can do. I was reading all the courses they offered. And my roommate at the time was like, hey, UConn has a great landscape architecture program. So I flipped over to UConn's page. I was reading about it and stuff. I was like, wow, this seems kind of cool. And the enrollment was open. So I applied, ended up getting in. So I was like, all right, what do I do now? I either transfer to UConn, because I was freshman year, I was at a different college, or do I go to Australia? So I ended up choosing to go to UConn for landscape architecture. Had an incredible time there. Learned so much. They had such a cool program, and I just fell in love with designing. I mean, every single one of our courses was hands-on drawing. It wasn't like my nose was in a book. I was just studying all day long. I was physically drawing these cool outdoor spaces, whether it's a college campus, a local community, a park. And I was just like, man, this is so cool. And then shortly after, when I linked up with Baylor Brothers and I got to work with these homeowners one-on-one and see the reaction of us creating this vision and then installing it, it was just such a cool experience to transform these people's lives and give them a spot to entertain their friends and family. I was like, man, this can't be any better.
But so it was finding that the landscape architecture program that sparked the interest in it, or was it something longer since a child or anything like that? Like, was there ever a time you're like, I want to be a landscape architect, or I want to be, outdoor living designer, or is it kind of something that came up, you're like, that kind of ticks all the boxes?
Yeah. So my cousin, he went to college for landscape
Okay.
architecture as well. He's a few years older than me, so I got to kind of see his journey along the way and kind of see the work that he produced because he went off to build his own design build company as well. So it was kind of always in the back of my mind, like, wow, that's kind of a cool opportunity to be able to take your drawing and bring it to life. So it was kind of always floating around in the back of my head. But then when I took the time to actually research what it was all about, when I was going to start studying it and I really learned about the full potential of it. It was just it really just sparked my interest because I always was big into to arts, not so much like I wasn't always into like the whole just studying and stuff of that nature. I always was more hands on into creating things. But at the time when I was younger, it didn't really click with me like, hey, I should go down this career path. So when it kind of almost landed in my lap with the opportunity to transfer to UConn, it was a such an incredible opportunity that I'm glad I took up because then once I really started diving into it, I just realized it was a perfect avenue for me to go down.
I love it, dude. And I know that you ended up with Baylor Brothers and you had lots of opportunities there and, cut your teeth and now you're on your own. So I love it. I love it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, and then being with them too, that really just grew that interest because then I really got to see
Yeah.
homeowners one-on-one and see what kinda impact we were making. Whereas now, since my work's all virtual all across the country, I don't get to sit with those homeowners one-on-one at their dining room table to talk about this vision. I do it virtual now, but just being able to see them in person, and I was with Baylor's for 6, 7 years, so being able to sit with those homeowners for that period of time and just watch us transform their landscape was just such a
I
cool
love that. I
opportunity.
love it, dude. So when when contractors come to you to take over their design, how do they come to you? Like, where are they typically in their we'll call it their cycle? Like what are they coming to you with? What kind of frustrations do they have, and what kind of people do you best serve? Like, what is your ideal customer
Yeah.
situation with contractors?
Yeah. Yeah, so the number one thing I've seen so far is just contractors are just especially coming up this time of year when things are gonna eventually start to warm up and their phones are just blowing up. The contractors are just like, "Hey, I need to get something off my plate here and I need to find someone who can design for me and have a quick turnaround time to keep these homeowners engaged." That's definitely the biggest thing, and these contractors it might be a message on Facebook, message on Instagram, a phone call, things of that nature. Social media has been huge for me in terms of putting my work out there to show these contractors like, hey, these services are available. If you're struggling in this area and you're staying up till midnight every night trying to put together a design, these services are out there. You can find these people. There's tons of companies just like mine too, who just specialize and are really passionate about outdoor living design. So there's plenty of avenues you can go down in that nature. But the biggest thing is contractors just trying to either free up some time so they can have more time to spend with their family, or like you're saying, just check off that box of I really struggle with design and I'm really passionate about installation. So I just want to find someone who can take care of that for me. So that's just one way that these contractors are checking off that box of the thing that they struggle with just to make their day to day that much more
No, it's
enjoyable.
it's so true, and I'm blessed to have many students who have, decided to do that if that's not truly within their set of gifts, and yeah, it's such a deal changer for them. Question for you: What is how painful is it? I would think painful is the right word. How painful is it to get the information you need from me as the say the contractor to get you the information you need to do a design? I mean, obviously, I got to take measurements, I got to take pictures, like how involved do you need me to be?
Right. Yeah, so it's really basic because what the contractor's already doing is they're already out there meeting with that homeowner, getting all the site data, the dimensions, the elevations, site photos, and I mean, there's so much data online nowadays too, through GIS, through Google Earth, where you can really find all this data that you need right at your fingertips just by typing in their address. So what contractors are doing is they're just sending me a really simple pencil sketch, might be on a piece of paper, a napkin, graph paper, and then they're sending me any sort of elevations that they have and site photos, and then that's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
much it. They'll send me the wish list of what the homeowner wants, and then we just pretty much
Mm,
get to work. Because what's cool about it is all these we're going into these backyards that are just blank slates. So I have all this data of that backyard, and then I get to just have fun with it and create a vision for that homeowner within their wish list and within their budget, just to make a really spectacular experience for that contractor to present to
I
that
love it.
homeowner.
How does like revisions work? Because we know we never nail it first off out of the box. We hope to. Mrs. Jones always has some
Yeah.
adjustments. How does that work with you guys?
Yeah, so with revisions, what we do is we try to provide all pricing upfront based on project size and complexity. So just like you would estimate an installation, you kind of look at all the aspects of that design, whether it's a sloped backyard, whether you need to design in a lot of drainage throughout it. And then from there, we like to just provide them a quote up front for two-dimensional plans, three-dimensional plans, lighting designs, things of that nature, anything that that homeowner wants to see. And then within that, we'll go through a system, which I'll talk a lot about this down at OLM. We'll go through a system where we just try to simplify the process. So we start with very simple drawings in the beginning to try to catch, say, 75% of those changes. Because if you can catch all these changes in two-dimensional, that's going to be a lot easier to draw in 3D. Because once you start doing revisions in 3D, it takes obviously a tremendous more amount of time. So we try to start with simple two-dimensional plans to begin with, making the homeowner nervous about having to pay for all these extra charges. So we try to provide them with as much pricing up front. So once we start into that design, we can kind of set the money aspect aside and then just have fun with the design.
It's so important to have an idea of what the expectations would be, because the last thing you want as a contractor would be to be like, all right, Ryan, go ahead, have fun, and here's your money to do it. And next thing you know, like, oh, she wants the revision. You're like, yeah, that's another $500. Oh, she wants another revision. There's another $500. Oh, and like nickel and dime. And I can't stand being treated that way. And I know you don't do that. That's why I like the way you work. You consider those things in the beginning, and then you work together you're in it to win it with them.
Yeah. Because I want to make them a vision that they're completely thrilled about. I don't want to get 75% through the design and they're like, hey, I really wish Ryan could change these couple things around, but I don't want to pay him another $400 or $500. That's why I try to look at the aspect as a whole, take my experience of previous designs, kind of basing off of how many revisions I typically see, and then just kind of putting it all into one design package so that the homeowner could be like, hey, what do my favors look like gray? What do they look like tan? Or maybe we have grasses over here, maybe we have shrubs. So just giving them those opportunities to just really be nice and relaxed about it, ask about any sort of ideas they want, so that once they start handing that out to contractors to get quotes, they can just be totally happy with that vision that they have in their hand.
I love it. So right now you can handle all the design. If anybody's out there listening, feeling overwhelmed, or just know that spring gets crazy, obviously Ryan can help you with all of that. What's the best way to reach you, Ryan?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me is definitely through Facebook or Instagram. It's just King Landscape Design. Those are probably the number one ways that contractors get a hold of me. Website is kinglandscapedesign.com. That's another phenomenal way to reach out to me. But yeah, those are the three ways that really contractors and homeowners are finding me. And there's tons of examples across my social media of like we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, those sneak peeks that you can give to the homeowner, all the way up to that final design package that you're going out there with your excavators and machinery and start bringing it to life for them.
Yeah. And, I want to thank you again. He's Ryan. If you guys don't know his listeners, Ryan is the principal designer here at the Outdoor Living Mastery event. He's taken his precious time and he's done an incredible job for this event. And it's not just an event for the contractors. It's so much more, because once it's done, then these children with special needs get a chance to come out and enjoy this space. He's done a phenomenal job. He's been such a huge asset on the team. So I thank you for your heart and for your giving and for being part of this. I can't wait to hear what you share at the event and all that, brother.
Yeah, it's gonna be such a cool event. If you guys haven't checked it out, check out Outdoor Living Mastery. We're doing this really cool project down in Pennsylvania. It's gonna be such a great opportunity for people to get their hands on, not only to learn, but like you said, just to create this whole new outdoor living space for these special needs children.
For that, brother. So if anybody out there's listening and want to find out more about it, that's outdoorlivingmastery.com. And if you're listening to this and you're like, all right, well, it's great that I could get Ryan on board, but I still have a hard time getting clients to pay for a design and to get projects that are more than $25,000 and that require design, like all that kind of stuff. That's what we specialize here at Yes Express, is being able to help people have a conversation and build the value into your relationship, so clients will see you as someone who can provide a six-figure project and also give you the skills that you need to do that through a great conversation and to be able to vet those clients and make sure they can truly afford what you're doing too, right? There's nothing worse than having a client that's like,
Exactly.
yeah, sounds good. Just design it for me. No problem when it's free, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, but I don't know how to sell a design. I don't know how to make sure I can actually make some money. We call it first money. It's the first revenue cycle that you can actually make some money. You could hire Ryan and then make some money doing the design with him. And the next thing you know, and then have that become a credit to the project and work into the project with Mrs. Jones. And pretty soon a project that maybe you only would have put in a seating wall, a fire pit, and a patio, Ryan had some different ideas based on what he's heard about how you've explained it. Next thing you know, Mrs. Jones is like, well, I was only thinking 50 grand, but holy moly, I can find more money. Like, this is amazing. Like, I love what I can see here. But so much of that isn't just the visual communication that Ryan can help you with. It's also, how do you communicate with Mrs. Jones to go deeper into that conversation to find out what she truly wants, needs, and desires? Not what she tells you, but what she actually truly deep down emotionally needs. Because 80% of what they're buying here, close to 90%, is emotional, not logical. So we have to make sure we get to that part. We have to make sure we can peel the onion down to the point where we know exactly what she needs. And then you'll be the only person that will present that to her. And she's going to be like, oh my goodness. The answer is yes.
Exactly.
So anyway, Ryan, thanks for coming on here. I appreciate your time, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me, Josh. This has been awesome as always.
Have a good day.